Welcome to section 3 of the course titled Efficient Java Multithreading Using Executors to Do Everything That You Can Do with Threads. In this section, we will see how to name the normal threads and also those threads that are created by executors behind the scenes. Why name threads, you ask? The answer is very simple. By default, the JDK composes the thread names by using the word thread and a sequence number. So the thread names become thread 0, thread 1, thread 2, etc. These names are not very descriptive when you look at them in a debugger or in the logs. So you need to assign the thread some names yourself that you can easily identify and that can help you understand your multi-threaded application's flow, thereby allowing you to efficiently debug it. Names like directory scanner thread, timer thread, or cache invalidating thread are far more descriptive and recognizable than thread 0, thread 1, and thread 2. We have also seen the necessity for naming the threads in the cached thread pool tutorial in the previous section, whereby we had needed to witness the proof of pool threads reuse. Although the default names assigned to the pool threads by the JDK would have been sufficient there, but the situations are not always so simple in threaded applications. So name the threads when you need to explicitly identify them in the scheme of things. This will make your job easier when you end up having to debug your multi-threaded application. Let us see now how to name normal threads. Java provides a couple of opportunities to name the threads. The first one, while the thread is running. When a thread is running, it is actually executing a task assigned to it. So this opportunity allows a task to name the thread in which it is running. And the second one, at the time when we create the thread class object. Let us first look at how to name a thread from within the task that is running in the thread. As always, I have already created a skeleton class by the name of naming threads first way with the main method. The main method has two sysouts that signify the start and end of the main thread. As I need to print the thread name now in the sysout logs and loop task A doesn't do that, let us create a new task by copying the loop task A and call it as loop task B and then update it. Some of you might be thinking as to why I always create new classes instead of updating the old ones and using them in the later examples. Although I could have directly updated loop task A and used it in the current example, but I wanted to leave it untouched. This is because if I update loop task A now, this is because if I update loop task A now and a student looks at all the previous examples where I have used loop task A and tries to run them himself, his output will come out to be different as compared to the videos. I don't want to cause any undue confusion because of this. That is why I create a new class instead of updating an old one if the older one has been used in some other example previously. In real world scenarios, however, it may sometimes be prudent to update or extend the pre-existing class itself. Anyways, now to the task at hand. I am now going to update loop task B for our current requirements. We now want to print the thread name also in addition to the task name so that we can determine in which thread a particular task is running. For this purpose, I am going to update all the sysouts in this task and add the thread name to them. To determine the name of the thread in which the task is running, you first need to get the instance of the thread class. The instance of the current thread. You can do this by using the static method current thread of the thread class. To retrieve the name of the thread, just call the getName method on the thread reference. Let us now update all the sysouts to include the name of the worker thread. I am going to use instances of this task along with instances of other tasks in subsequent examples as well. There we will need to differentiate between the sysouts spewed out by instances of different tasks in the output. So we need to have different identifiers for different tasks. As we have already used the name task for loop task A, so let us use the name loop task B for the current task. For this purpose, I am going to create a new class variable called task ID and use it in the sysouts. Okay, I think this should do it. And to make the semantics clear for the ID variable, let us refactor and rename it to instance number. Okay. If you want to see the difference between loop task A and loop task B, I'll show it here for a couple of seconds. You can pause the video to observe the differences more closely. Okay. Back to naming threads first way now, and while we are at it, let us update its sysouts too, so that it also prints the name of the thread in which it is running. Okay, it is done. I am now going to create a couple of threads here and execute two loop task B's in them. And for the second thread, let us also capture the reference to the thread. although it is not required. Okay, notice that I have not named the threads anywhere as yet, but have still updated the sysouts in both the classes to print the thread names. So let us run this class and see what happens. Okay, some valid looking thread names are also printed in the output: main, thread 0 and thread 1. Loop task B1 is running in thread 0, whereas loop task B2 is running in thread 1. These thread names have been assigned to the threads automatically by the JVM. The thread that runs the main method is always assigned the name main, while the worker threads that are spawned later in the program or application are named as thread 0, thread 1, thread 2, and so on by the JVM. All these names can be changed by the programmer, even the name of the main thread too. Let us now look at how to change the thread name from within the task. I am going to use the setName method on the thread class to set a different name for the current thread, like this. So now the numerical ID of the task and that of the thread in which the task is running should become the same. That is, the thread running loop task B1 will be renamed to Amazing Thread 1, and the one running loop task B2 will be renamed to Amazing Thread 2. Running the code again now. Okay, we observe that the thread names have been changed to the ones that the tasks gave them. Now, it is not a good idea to change the name of a thread from within a task that the thread is running. If a thread runs multiple tasks one by one, then each task can name the thread differently and the thread will lose its identity. We will no longer be able to identify that single thread easily in the debugger or from the logs, as it will appear with multiple names now. Besides, a thread has its own distinct existence than the task and is longer lived than the task too. Having said that, there may be some valid scenario where you may want to change the name of the thread from within a task. So, if you have a good reason for it, do use this technique. Otherwise, think twice. This brings us to the end of this video. In the next video, we will look at a better place and a better way to name the threads. That is, at the thread creation time. Till then, take care and bye.